Hey y'all, Instinct Survivalist coming to you again with another 2-Tip Tuesday. This time we'll be talking about steel and leather and how it relates to knives. I can already hear it coming. Steel on a knife or steel in a knife. Great debates. Yeah, we're not getting there. First things first, Roll Tide. Congratulations to the University of Alabama, 24-7 over Florida State. Hey guys, great game. Florida State put up some great defense for sure, and I really hope that your quarterback gets well very quickly and great recovery. Good guy, played very well. Hey, that's the game, that's the way it goes. I just hope he does a good recovery. So that being said, let's talk about steel first as it relates to a knife. And our model today is the LT Wright Georgia Bushcrafter. How do I know? Because it has the orange liners in it and because it's what I ordered. So there's that. And when we talk about steel in a knife, some people start talking about the type of steel in a blade. We're not going there. The reality is, and I'll just put it very bluntly, I'm not smart enough to tell you what steel is in there unless somebody tells me. I don't know, I don't care. I go for the way it feels in my hand to make sure there's no burn patterns and how it works. If I'm sitting there and I can easily use the blade, great. If I can't, it doesn't do me any good, right? And I just bought, well, I say just bought, a couple of months back, also bought one because it felt nice. Doesn't matter, one of those things, that's my preference. If you want to go into, a tool or A2 or tool steel, knock yourself out. And if those are the same thing, congratulations. I have no idea. But what I want to talk about is steel as it relates to a file. Now, I can already hear, Bill, you don't put a file on a blade. Yes and no. I would never put a file on the edge of my blade, flat out, plain and simple. It would have to be a survival situation to where I have no other choice because I'm just not doing it. It's just the way it goes. However, what we're looking at today is actually this 90-degree spine. Now, the LT Wright knives all come with a 90-degree spine, and we'll talk about the reasons for that in a moment. But I look at my Moore Companion as an example. I actually had to put a 90-degree spine on that because although it had a spine, it was a little more rounded than 90 degrees. And for me, it wasn't one of those things that gave me or the insurance of survivability when we look at it as a whole. Now, why do we do this? Why do we look at that? Is because if I'm carrying a ferro rod, I want to make sure that I get a nice grouping or a nice bunch of sparks. And so that's one of the reasons or examples of why I want a 90 degree. In doing so, what happens is it starts giving you the ability and the comfort of knowing that you can start a fire with your ferro rod. Now, when I go out in the field, I do have my Bic lighter, but my secondary, my backup is always my ferro rod. If I were to go in and I was only allotted one tool, if you will, it would be my ferro rod just because it's going to last a lot longer than my Bic. So what we have seen and what I have done is actually utilize a flat file to do so, to actually create that. Now, I've seen some people actually use a triangle file or a jeweler's file, but one of the tips that somebody gave me that I wanted to pass on to y'all is actually using a chainsaw or a round file. You can get bigger ones as well as that goes. But the reason for that is when you start looking at the fact that the ferro rod is rounded, you're now increasing the surface area by putting a divot in the spine. Now, some people say, well, that's going to take away from the attraction of it. Knock yourself out. If you don't want to put a round one, that's fine. If you don't want to put a 90 degree, that's fine. It's up to you. These are just tips I'm passing along. But going in and putting in and using a file to the spine of your knife is not going to change the temper of the blade, despite what everybody says. The only people that don't say it is the knife makers. Are like, no, just file it. You can't get it hot enough based off of your movement in that. All right, so there's steel. Leather being the other side. Everybody likes a good leather sheath. Some people are liking the Kydex sheaths. Hey, I've got pricing going out on a Kydex sheath. I've got some other ones that are in Kydex. It's not that I'm saying one over the other. So, okay, please understand that. I got a guy, Philip Nichols over at Viper Kydex, does a fantastic job with Kydex. Flat out, plain and simple, one of my go-to guys for that. However, when it comes down to a leather sheath, I go to Reliance Leatherworks and talk to Matthew and Tim over there. So they actually give me good quality work, and I don't have to worry about it. So I'll put both of their links down below. One other link that I'm going to put in is, and I'll tell you about it in a minute, is from David Sabat, or from Sabat Outdoor Supply, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But one of the things I always carry is a leather belt. In this case, it's a utility belt. And why do I carry that in the woods? Because now it's a nice belt that I can put my knife on, I can put my fire kit on, I can put my axe in, and I can go off traipsing or scouting if I want to without having to worry about digging in my backpack. And the thing is about this is that that rough side leather as well as the smooth side leather can be used as a strop. Uh-oh, now we're talking about a new word. Okay, so a strop in itself is used to give a better edge to a knife. Now you can go in and use your whetstone, you can use your sharpening steel, whatever it is that you're using, you can go in and put a nice edge on it. If you want to increase that, hone it down a little bit more, if you will, to use just plain language, we can actually go in and utilize leather for that. Some people use their jeans, knock yourself out, because my leg is rounded, it makes it a little more difficult. But what I find is that utilizing that actually makes it a little more hair popping sharp, if you will. And then what I started doing recently, David at Sabat Outdoor Supply actually got me a leather strop for a giveaway, and I was impressed by it. I had to buy one. So there's that, flat out, plain and simple. And what you can see, it's a two-sided strop. One is the rough leather, and one is the smoother leather, and the black is just the polishing compound that I use on it. And the reason I've started carrying this as opposed to depending on my utility belt, which I still carry, so if this doesn't make it in the bag, that's always there, is because now I can use this on my axe. I can use my axe on my belt, not a problem. However, it becomes one of those things where it's a little more difficult and a lot easier to sit here and move the strop as opposed to moving the axe up and down the strop. So that's why I would do that and why I use this overall in the field, and that's why it's this size. Now he makes some big ones, he makes some small ones, he makes rounded ones, he makes some, anyway, there's a whole lot of different ones he makes. Great guy, and if you won't want a specific way, just ask him, he'll make it. So the strop, let's talk about actually how to do that real quick, and this becomes an instructional, if you will, is you're going in, and normally when you're sharpening a knife, a lot of folks go with the blade. So we're going, pushing the knife down the stone. The difference is with a strop, you go the reverse pattern, right? You go in, and instead I go, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then reverse with my blade this way, 2, 3, 4. And the reason you go in reverse is so you're not cutting into the leather. It's easy to do, especially if you're using a belt. I urge you, one of the things that I urge you to try or practice with ahead of time, take your belt. If it doesn't have that coating on the back of it, use that, see how you like it. You've got to get that thing pretty tight. I use mine, it's got that nice wheel on the buckle itself, and I actually wrap that around my foot. You can wrap it around a solid post or whatever, pull it tight, and I wrap the belt around my hand and pull it tight, and just strop it. And some of you are old enough to remember stropping when you went to the barber shop, and the barber would go out before he starts shaving folks, and you hear him pull that thing off the wall, and what he's doing is he's sharpening a razor for a nice sharp razor finish on the face or the neck or what have you. So getting a nice clean cut. Will a strop give you a razor edge? I'm here to tell you the answer is yes. Flat out, plain and simple. It's the way it goes, and you can ask anybody that strops their knives. I've got no hair right here to prove that, and I know that, again, barbers, they would go in and do that to make sure that you had a nice sharp edge. So that's it, guys. We're looking at leather, and we're looking at steel. We're looking at steel and leather as our 2-Tip Tuesday. Hey, thanks for all you do. Don't forget to give the thumbs up for liking the video. Comment below. We're still looking for more tips. I got some more this morning. Great stuff. Great stuff that's coming out of the community. Thank you all for your tips. I really appreciate it. Let's build this together. Let's continue moving on. And hey, until then, use your instincts to survive. Thanks for watching.